Why should you practice daily gratitude?
Because it helps alleviate anxiety. Anxiety is like this internal alarm that warns you about potential threats. And that's good, but what happens is your body gets flooded with cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And then you go into survival mode, you go into fight or flight, you become hyper aroused, and then you have all these symptoms of anger, impulsive behavior, obsessive compulsiveness, like all of these things that you don't want, especially if it's not a real life-threatening situation, right?
Right.
So a really easy tool that you can have in your toolbox is gratitude, right?
Yeah, I mean, studies show that your brain cannot focus on anxiety and gratitude at the same time. Both of those emotions of anxiety and gratitude occupy the same part of your brain. So it's a good tool for anxious people to use when they feel anxious, is to focus on 3 to 5 things that they're grateful for, right? And it gets them out of the anxious state.
I always think that practice is really important because what you practice daily gives you the tools and the memory, right? You're going to be rewiring your brain so that when there is a trigger, then you can go to that. If you're not used to doing it, then you're not going to do it. So you're going to get triggered, you're going to get anxious, and you're not going to think about, oh, I should be grateful about something. But if you're practicing it daily, and every day you're like, okay, I'm thinking about negative things, okay, I got to think about something. I got to balance that with some gratitude, right? Then you're starting to rewire. And then that practice, it'll just come naturally when you're triggered. A good way to practice is by gratitude journaling. And you're a big journaler, you're a big advocate for journaling. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, part of my recovery and healing was to journal. Was very effective. It reminded me of being present. Journaling was great because for a lot of people, they want privacy, they want to make sure that no one's going to hurt them. They're safe and secure. They're by themselves. They're just journaling, and it's just them in the journal, right? And it reminds them that just to be open, right? And there's nothing is going to happen to you, right? So for me, it was a great tool because I used it, and as you start to journal, you'll see, and you'll be mindful. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how anxious I am during the day. It's just nice to journal about your day, about your week, and just that's really how you know is really making these subconscious thoughts conscious, right? And and then as you journal and as you start to reflect on the journaling, you'll see that there tends to be patterns, and that's how you kind of catch yourself in these behaviors.
Yeah, and you're getting the anxiety that's stuck in your body. That's what's really harming you. You're getting it out. You're externalizing it. You're getting those thoughts, those feelings out of your body.
And journaling is very, very powerful because if you are doing therapy, it's only 60 minutes at most a week or every 2 weeks, right? And then the rest you're on your own. So when you journal, it's a form of therapy.
Yeah, and what happens with people who have anxiety is their brain scans the environment for all the negative things, right? Because the negative is usually the thing that's going to hurt you. And so, I always tell my clients who have anxiety is not all bad. It's there for a purpose. It's trying to protect you and, keep you alive. It's just when your mind is unhealthy and it keeps looping and you're having these anxious thoughts about things, first of all, that you can't control. It can't protect you because there's nothing you can do. You can't control the situation. So that's doing nothing but hurting you. But when there really is something you can do about it, then it's great to think about it. But otherwise, you're just you're finding all the negative things. And it's a very unbalanced way of seeing the world. It's a very unbalanced perspective, a very negative perspective. So it's important to always balance that and say, sure, yes, there's that negative thing, but there's probably something positive too. So try to think about that too. Try to balance that.
In the beginning, especially during your healing process, your habits are going to, it's almost like the default mind, it's like a magnet. So as you start to create new neural pathways and try to shift these new habits, your mind is trying to take you into the comfort, to the default of that magnet. So it's going to be very, very challenging, but you have to stick with it and be persistent, and then eventually it becomes a new habit.
Well, and the other thing is if you are experiencing anxiety all day because maybe you have a stressful job, you come home, maybe your personal life is stressful as well, and then you try to sleep, you can't sleep in that hyper-aroused state. Because it's like, when you're in that state, it's like being a soldier on night watch. Well, if there's threats everywhere, and you're supposed to be looking for those threats, you're not gonna be able to sleep, right? So I think gratitude journaling is a brilliant way, because all of a sudden you're getting all of that anxiety out onto the page, and then you'll calm down, and then you'll be able to sleep.
Right, and it's not rushing through the gratitude points of 3 to 5 a day. It's sitting with it. You know, I'm grateful for my job because it's allowing my lifestyle, and I'm allowing to put food on the table, take care of my kids, to my family, put away a little bit for the future. So it's sitting in it for 30 seconds to a minute, and then you go on to the next one, to the next one. It's not rushing through it, but just allowing your mind to process and stay in that moment for at least 30 seconds to a minute for each point, and then you kind of move on.
And you know, you can always find something to be grateful for. Even if you had the worst day, there's always something.
I agree.
I'm grateful for you.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for this beautiful day.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for these cherry blossom trees.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for being here with you. I'm staying in the moment. I'm grateful for allowing us the opportunity to share these moments.
Yeah.
And being alive, especially when you get old. I'm grateful. You never know.
Grateful that we woke up this morning.
You never know. Every day there's a blessing. So many of these trees were planted in 1959.
They were a gift from the Japanese ambassador to Canada as a gesture of gratitude to Toronto for accepting relocated Japanese Canadians after the Second World War.